Okay, so it's time to really get started. We're actually going to start coding today, and we're going to build from here. So first thing I want to do is make sure that we're all set. Okay, I've got my board set up like this. I've got my Every in. It's powered on. It's connected to my computer. And I do want to show you one thing real quick. There's going to be a few times, I said I'm shooting new videos because we changed processors. There'll be an occasion or two where you'll see an assignment or a video on my channel that has, for example, one of these or even one of these in the illustration. If you do see that, don't panic, don't freak out. It doesn't matter. It just means that particular assignment doesn't care which processor or pins we have. It's all going to be about coding. So you might see one of these on the side of the video, or you might see one of these on the side. All right, that's okay. Don't worry about it. Just pay attention to when I do need you to use these pins. I will be replacing all those videos with this. So enough said with that. Let's move on. So let's get the IDE going. All right. So here we are. I've got a brand new sketch. I went File, New. It's automatically detected my Every. It is bold. It is connected. Okay. So we're going to start with a couple of things that we're going to get into the habit of that I really haven't explained. So pay attention starting at this point. Anytime you do any homework for me or any work, or actually you should do this anyway, you really need to start putting some header information and comments in your code, and we're going to start right from the very beginning. So what do I want? First off, how do we do it? There's a couple of ways we can comment our code. If I want to put my name on here, you'll see that it's in black. And in fact, if I try to run this code, it's going to be all confused. It errored out. All right. I need to somehow make this invisible to the compiler. There's a couple ways to do it. I can put 2 slashes in front of it. And of course, you can see now it is gray. And if I verify this code, it's perfectly happy with it. Of course, it's not going to do anything. There's nothing in here. But it was able to accept it, and this did not bother it at all. This was ignored with 2 lines. Just like this, turns gray, gets ignored. The other way to do it, which is really common, is put in a comment block. That would be a /star. Notice everything is now gray. So what you'd want to do is when you get done typing your information, for example, today's date. What is today's date? The 16th. And this is going to be my first program. All right. And when I end it with a // Okay. And now you can see this material here is in gray. It is invisible. If I verify this code, again, there's nothing here. It's perfectly happy with it. And I have now commented or put a header on my code. The other thing I'm going to want you guys to get into the habit of, because we're going to write code that's going to be hundreds of lines long, and it's going to have many functions in it. And what I want to do is I want to get in a habit of separating these things. I like 2 slashes and a bunch of stars. And I'll put that kind of thing between every function that I write. Makes it so much easier to segregate and look through my code and figure out where something new is. All right. So that being said, let's actually put something important in. Okay. These first couple assignments are going to be basically text-based. Will be your processor talking to your computer. All right. So we need to establish communication between the Every, your Arduino, and your machine here. All right. So it actually has sort of a default, but we're going to be forcing something, which means that we need to open up a serial channel. That is done with serial dot, and in fact you can see it starts giving you a bunch of suggestions here, things that at least don't work. But we want serial dot begin. Okay, and then I'm going to choose 9,600 baud bits per second. And the reason I'm doing that is it's old, it's established, it's really robust, and it's perfectly fine for the work that we're going to do. So I've opened up a communication line between my Every and my computer, and I can have my Every display material. In fact, I'll be able to go both ways with it. I can send stuff to it, and I can receive stuff from it. Now, the next thing is, depending on the speed of your computer, some of these Teensies and Arduinos and whatever else are really fast. And they will send information before your computer is ready to receive it. So I like to put in a little bit of a delay. So I'm going to throw a delay in here. Oops. Of about 100 milliseconds. Okay? So it's going to hold it for at least 100 milliseconds before it actually sends any information. Now the other thing I'm going to do is, you'll notice, and you may not have seen this yet, right now there's no place for information to be displayed. Okay? To get displayed information, we have to click one of these two. We're going to be using the serial monitor first instead of the graph, but we'll start with that. And now at least you can see, oops, actually I shouldn't have done that because I'm actually running a program in the back. You won't have any of that. In fact, let me stop that just for a moment. Okay, this is what you should look like. I was running a piece of code on my chip before I switched it. Now I've loaded essentially nothing onto my chip and nothing is happening. Okay, but we need to be able to give ourselves time sometimes to make sure this is open. So let's throw one more thing into our setup. It's going to be a while. Okay, we'll explain while loops quite a bit, but for the moment, sort of take it for granted. I'm going to have open parentheses. And another thing you may not have seen before is the exclamation point. In computer lingo here, that means, that's often called a bang, and it means not. Okay? It means not. It's not working. Not a particular thing. And we are going to go not serial. So that means that if the serial port is not open, while it is not open, it's stuck in a loop. All right? And it can't escape. So this holds the program until the serial window is open. Okay? And then we're going to delay for that 100 milliseconds. Okay? So now we've got our setup perfect. It's going to do exactly what we need to do. So let's write a simple piece of code. We want to send something out to my serial window, my serial monitor here. Let's start with, well, the classic, which is what you saw running before I turned it off. Serial dot print new line, and then in open parentheses, and I'll say the classic one, hello world. In quotes, close parentheses, semicolon. Okay. Now, if I run this, maybe I'll run it for you. You guys do not do this because it might jam up your computer. I'm going to run this, and you can see that something bad may happen. Let's watch. It's running. In fact, it's running so fast that my computer may crash. So I need to stop because it's going really quick. It doesn't help me at all. I am going to throw a delay in here. And let's load that again. Alright, let me clear that screen. And now you can see once a second it's just simply sending out hello world. Alright. What if I didn't put the ln? Well, let's see what happens. If I don't put the ln, it's not going to call the new line, and I'm going to end up with everything streaming on a single line once per second. Okay? Which is useful sometimes. Don't get me wrong. You're going to use it. But much of the time, we are going to run it with a new line. Now, I'm going to keep all my videos at 15 minutes or less. And I'm already approaching it, even though we've barely begun. But I do want to show you one more thing on this particular video. So, right now I have everything inside the loop. Okay? I don't want to get into that habit. I'm going to be building programs with lots of different functions. I'm going to be calling upon those functions, and we should just start right off with the setting up functions to put our little tiny pieces of code in. So again, I'm going to start with my delineator, and I'm going to create a function here, and I'm going to call it void demo1. Open close parentheses. Okay. Now, I'm going to take this right here. I'm going to cut it, so and I'm on a PC that's Command X or Control X, and I'm going to paste it right here. All right. So if I want to make this run right now, if I load this, nothing's going to happen. It's going to be phenomenally boring because my loop contains no information, no calls, no nothing. So if I clear the screen, nothing's happening. Well, that's because I haven't called this function. So let's call that function, put a semicolon, and load it up. And there you see. Now, this last thing. This, although functional, and it's not even that ugly, it's not right. Okay? We really need to make sure we have indentation set up so the code is clear and easy to read. Probably a couple more comments on here. Let's straighten up the indentations first. If you wrote your code well, and it makes good sense, you should be able to just hit Control-T or Command-T on a Mac, and it automatically tidies your code. Okay? It's also a very powerful tool to determine if something is wrong. So I've tidied my code. And the last thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to put in here. I tend to go with sort of generic comments if I can. I'm just going to call it a short delay because I might change that relatively shortly. All right, so that, oops, this should be, I don't know why, oh, that's all right. Put that back up on top like that. Okay, this should do us for a bit, and I will end this, and we will build from here. So I will see you again shortly.